In this video, we're going to be comparing the 2.7 liter Ecoboost to the 5.7 liter HEMI in the RAM. In a towing video, we're going to look at the MPG, and we're going to also talk about the different towing characteristics between the two trucks. Here's a look at the load that we're going to be towing. Right now it's hooked up to the Super Duty because we use this truck to get the load and get everything set up. So we're going to unhook from the Super Duty and we're going to hook up the Dodge Ram first and tow with it, and we'll see how it does. Now for our load, we have a Buick Encore, which is a small four-door car, probably one of the smaller cars in the market, and I feel like this is a good real-world towing situation that most people with a 1500 truck would encounter. Small vehicle, U-Haul trailer that you can rent from anywhere in the country. It's not real big. It's a good amount of weight for 1500. The brakes are going to be surge brakes. Brakes are working good, and I think this is going to be very relevant to real-world situation and what you could expect from one of these trucks. So anyway, see you guys once we get hooked up. All right, hooking up the Dodge Ram to the load, and we haven't yet put the weight of the tongue weight on the truck. So we're working with about 550 pounds of tongue weight, and we're gonna see exactly how much it squats. Right now, we are at 39 inches before we add the load, and we'll see how much there is after. All right, with the load on the truck, we're just at 36 inches, so we're just over 36 inches. So that gives you an idea how much it dropped. And here is a look at the truck and trailer together. As you can see, it's squatting pretty dramatically, and I'm sure our F-150 is gonna squat pretty good as well. These U-Haul trailers really do put a lot of weight on the tongue, but we're just driving around town, no highway or anything, so it should be fine. One thing I noticed, I didn't really like hooking up the Ram's hitch. Just like the Ford, is kind of hard to get the chains on it, but usually you end up getting chain extenders. We'll see how it goes with the F-150, but anyway, see you guys on the road. All right, so we just reset the trip computer on the Dodge Ram, and it's got a timer for us, so we'll go ahead and see what MPG it gets after we do our route, and then we'll do the same thing with the F-150. See you guys when we're driving. All right, so we're about 6 minutes into the drive. We're getting 7.8 miles a gallon, and you know, we're hitting our normal amount of stop signs, red lights. So so far, how do you think it's driving?
It's better than I would expect it.
Do you feel like this much weight is a lot for a truck like this?
No.
No?
They do offer air suspension that might compensate for the tongue weight.
Right. It's got the power as far as pulling, but it's got a lot of weight on the back and a lot more squat than we would like to see. So having an airbag system would be very beneficial.
Set the light on that.
Yep. There's the Etzel Ford mansion. We're just passing that, headed into Grosse Pointe, Michigan. You know, I was thinking the amount of money that a guy like Henry Ford or Etzel Ford, the amount of money that they had to turn his home, Etzel Ford's home, into a museum forever. That's crazy.
It's not so much as the money he had, what he was able to do. It was just that he was the first to mass produce his own vehicle. He wasn't actually the first one to make the vehicle. He was the first one to mass produce a vehicle.
Right. That's Henry Ford. Henry Ford was the first one to combine production methods used in other industries to the automotive industry. So he really didn't invent anything. He just put 2 and 2 together, and boom, you got the Model T. But then his son came in, Enzo Ford, and revolutionized a lot of things as well, and made the company competitive again. But what's really crazy is when you think about wealth right now in this area we're in, wealth. This family was so wealthy that not only are they rich because of what they were they rich, wealthy people, but they've made this whole area wealthy. All the way as far as, I mean, what suburb of our area does not benefit from the big three? All the suburbs, Southfield, Troy.
Which way?
Keep going straight to Moros. You think about Southfield, Troy, Sterling Heights, you know, mowing lawns and doing like landscaping projects. Time and time again, I'm booking jobs for clients that work at GM, Ford, or Chrysler. And it's like, think about it, most of this wealth, I mean, if the big three left right now, so much wealth would leave, it would be a disaster.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, even though a lot of it has left, you know, still a significant amount of the big three is here. But none of that would have really, I mean, would it all be here if it wasn't for Henry Ford? Henry Ford, we know Ford doesn't have the entire market right now. They don't have everything in Detroit. You know, they're just a big automaker in Detroit along with Chrysler, GM. But if it wasn't for Ford doing what he did with the Model T, would GM and Chrysler, would they still be the same? I mean, if you look at the history, they're all intertwined. You got the Dodge brothers who had a relationship with Ford, and GM, different executives, they all had relationships in different companies. You know, different executives been shuffled back and forth. But if it wasn't for Ford starting his revolution with manufacturing the automobile, I mean, how long would it have been until another person came in and did the same thing? I mean, I'm sure eventually someone would have did the same thing. But it could have been somewhere else. It could have been in another state or another area. I mean, if Henry Ford didn't start it in this area from Dearborn, in this area, making this specific area extremely wealthy. I mean, what do people do around here? They either work in the medical field, GM, Ford, or Chrysler. You know, for the most part. But you think about the amount of money that Enzo Ford had, and not only that was he a billionaire, but he made entire cities rich. Entire cities have been made rich. Now think about this. Enzo Ford died in his 40s, I think. I believe around the middle age he died. And he died from stomach cancer. And it's crazy to think that all that money, he died just like anybody else from stomach cancer. There was nothing they could have done. I mean, they did every surgery, and there was nothing that they could have done for him. Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
He was so rich, he made the whole city rich. That's crazy. He wasn't just rich, he has our freeway, 94 is the Enzo Ford freeway. That's insane wealth.
Look at this.
Oh, look guys, there's a party on the water again. What do you think, Big John? You want to go jump in?
I wish.
You could literally walk out there because the water level's so high. And people might be cool, like, hey, can we come on your boat? There's technically no swimming, but all right, so here's Moros. We'll hook a right. All right, Dodge Ram going uphill. Do you even notice the grade at all?
Not really.
No.
There's a little more engine RPM torque glide that kind of happened when I went up the incline. But other than that, it's pretty good. Actually, I feel more and more confident that we even went 7 miles basically.
Yeah.
And It's doing good. It's accelerating, braking. It's doing a good job. I'm shocked. I'm surprised, actually. First time I ever towed anything in the truck.
So yeah, we're 17 minutes in and we're getting 12.7 miles to the gallon. That is pretty good MPG. I know one thing, that 2.7 better do better. It's a 2.7. It better get better mileage. Being, you know, as small as it is. All right, we're 25 minutes in, we're 10 miles in. We're at 12.9 miles to the gallon. And we'll see you guys at the house. We'll switch trucks and we'll pull with the 2.7 liter F-150. All right, back at the house, hooking up to Donna's truck next, the 2.7 liter EcoBoost. And we're at, well, we gotta wait until we out of reverse. All right, perfect. All right, so we're at 12.4 miles to the gallon, 32-minute drive at 12.5 miles for a total distance. How do you think it did?
I don't know, man. On an average, I would say it was okay first time towing with this truck.
Okay.
And it was pretty good.
All right,
I think
so
the gas mileage could be better.
we'll see. I mean, we'll hook up to the 2.7 and we'll see how it does. But I think you should drive the 2.7 since you drove this one. That way we'll know what the difference is. If I drive that, then I won't, you know.
You can't do the video.
I can.
I got you.
I can. Don't get me wrong, but it won't be as good because it's two different drivers.
Right.
All right, so we'll check back in once we hook up. All right, hooking up to 2.7, we are going to measure for the amount that it drops. So first we got to get the height before the tongue weight is on the vehicle. Pre-tongue weight, we are at just over 40 inches. Just over 40 inches. So we'll add our tongue weight and see what we got. All right, got the tongue weight on the truck and we're right at 37 inches. So, all right, in the 2.7 EcoBoost right now. How do you feel about the squat when we hooked it up? About the same?
Actually, I was sitting in the car, I want to say, but no, it seemed like it's a little bit higher, but I haven't driven this one in a while, and it's a squat. I could tell by the rate, the elevation of the hood.
It definitely seemed like squat. Visually, it looked like less, but I think the measuring tape is the only thing that really is 100% accurate. But when we hooked up the trailer, this truck kind of told us that we hooked up a trailer and it kind of got ready. Did the Ram do that?
No.
So let's put this in reverse and see if it beeps or anything, or it doesn't beep. So with the Ford, it kind of recognizes that there's a trailer and it doesn't beep the reverse warning. So I kind of like that feature. Like in the Ram, you put it in reverse, it's beeping and you have to manually turn off the reverse sensors compared to the Ford, where it kind of notices that you hooked up a trailer and it turns it off automatically for you.
Okay, do you have a tow haul mode?
Tow haul mode's gonna be right here. Tow haul.
Okay.
Oh, we also need to reset that computer. All right, so we're gonna get this thing started. We got our timer and miles per gallon all reset, so we'll see how the 2.7 does with the same exact load. See you guys on the road. Yeah, doesn't it feel like someone's tailgating you really close when you're towing a car like this?
Yes, most definitely. I have to keep reminding myself, okay, you're towing the vehicle, you're towing the vehicle.
It's like, who's tailgating me?
Right.
But I actually went and bought a Grand Prix years ago, and I drove all the way to Lansing with a U-Haul trailer just like this one, and I had a Sierra 2500 and it had quadristeer, which is basically four-wheel steering, and when you're on the highway it's supposed to turn the wheels with the front wheels to give you more stability. Truck did really good, but I swear it seemed like the whole frame was bending to accommodate all the tongue weight. And it handled really good though, because that was an all-iron engine, all-iron V8 up front, and that's a lot more weight up front to counteract your heavy tongue weight. But anyway, how do you think the 2.7's doing right now? I mean, not only the 2.7, but the whole entire truck as a chassis.
This is actually a very well put together truck. I would have to say so myself. Ford did a really good job as far as with the truck market.
Yeah.
You know, and they just might as well be the best as far as the truck market, because, you know, what is it, all the way up to 850, 150, all the way up to 850 or something.
Right,
like
right. They got a lot of heavy trucks going up.
Right, and just to have that market, you have to have not just only, you know, you have to have the commercial, the industrial market.
Yeah. How do you feel about, you know, the towing with our load after going from the Ram just previous to towing with the F-150? How do you think the F-150 compares to the Ram?
I would say if I had to do it every day, I would prefer the Ram.
Yeah.
Only because it's a V8.
Yeah.
You know, only because it's a V8.
Do you feel like the 3.5 would have been a better comparison?
Yeah, 3.5 automatically, no doubt. This is sufficient. I mean, it'll get the job done. But to do it every day, would you rather have a 2.7 or a 3.5?
It's a tough question.
I would say at least a 3.5. You got a bigger engine.
If you're gonna tow this much weight regularly, I think the 3.5 is better. But the 3.5 is not only is it better, but it's built better in the sense that you have more forged internals, you got forged connecting rods, a stronger crankshaft. The block is arguably stronger. You know, the 2.7's got compacted graphite iron, but I think they really use that iron in a minimalist kind of way, where they don't use a whole lot of it like in a diesel application. They use as little as possible to make the engine as lightweight as possible. So I don't know if it's really a stronger block, but the 3.5 definitely has more power. But what's really interesting is we're about 11 minutes in and we're at 13.7 miles to the gallon and climbing. So I think that's just a tad bit higher than what the Ram was doing as far as MPG. But you do feel like there's less power available right now?
Yeah, it's just a tad, not much. It's not really noticeable.
Yeah. And also too, if you're not used to the 2.7 liters power delivery, it takes a minute to get used to it. So it is different than a V8. It has low end torque. It doesn't really rev up. It doesn't have to rev up. And with the 3.5 EcoBoost, you notice that even more. The thing doesn't rev up. It doesn't downshift as much. So it's hard to really say which one's got the most power. If you were in that 3.5, it really would stay low RPMs even with this load, unless you really had to pass somebody. But I'm interested to see how this thing does. I mean, if it has less power, hopefully it can at least have a better MPG. But anyway, we'll see you guys when we get to the Incline. All right, coming up to the Incline here, we'll see how the 2.7 does.
It's a struggle.
It's getting it done though. Is the 10-speed noticeable at all, having all those gears?
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to use, but what, city driving, what, 3?
Right.
4?
If we had to get on the highway, what truck would you rather do it with, the Ford or the Ram?
I probably would do it with the Ford. I would probably prefer the 3.5, but I would probably even...
Would you say that if you could put the HEMI in this truck, you'd have more horsepower, but you'd have this chassis? Could that be a thing or no?
Yeah. I think I would love that.
Just from the passenger side, I feel like this chassis is handling it a little bit more secure than the Ram was. And the Ram, I think it just comes down to having those coil springs in the back. And it's not even against the Ram necessarily, but I think it's just the fact that that particular model is just more set up for comfort than it is set up for a lot of tongue weight, being that it has coil springs in the back. But they have an airbag system. If you want to really get into the higher towing categories, they have an airbag system that will no doubt be far superior than anything any other manufacturer has out right now. So they definitely have the market when it comes to having a strong towing platform, but you have to be cognizant that when you just get, a Bighorn, without thinking about adding any towing features, you might not have the best towing Ram. It might be set up more for comfort. All right, so right now we are 19 minutes in, 7.6 miles in, and we're at 16.7 miles to the gallon. All right, back at the house, and we are at 16.6 miles to the gallon, 12.4 total miles, and 31 minutes. So if you had to make a purchase for, say, the next 12 years, not a lease, not something you're going to turn in 2 to 3 years, something you have to own, pay off, and have for the long haul, what would you do? Would you go with the Ford or would you go with the Ram?
Right now, I think I would only go with the Ford because Chrysler is kind of slow with their technology, but I believe that they will catch up. I'm really liking these Fords.
Right. Are you surprised by the performance of the 2.7?
Yeah, really. I'm shocked. Actually, I'm shocked about the 2.7. I actually didn't think a six-cylinder would do this well. Even though it's a twin turbo, I just didn't think it would do this well.
Yeah. So.
And I would still. I like driving my Ram, but as far as like the towing capacity and capabilities and the Ford and with the technology, I probably would switch to a Ford one day, but kind of like my Hemis.
Right, that's a good point. And I feel like the 2.7 was a good comparison with the Hemi. There's my truck right there. It's got the max towing package and all this stuff, so I'm glad we used the 2.7 instead of using the max towing 3.5. And maybe down the road we will do some testing with that truck, but we just don't have enough time to do that today. So that's pretty much all we got. But having a better MPG is a significant advantage. And one thing about the 2.7 is just since we stopped here and idling the engine, we're losing less miles per gallon because the engine's so small. So we don't use gas just sitting here with the engine running, which is really an advantage. As well as getting much better MPG, you can go significantly further. You could probably go a couple hours further with the 2.7 liter Ecoboost compared to what we did with the 5.7 liter Hemi. Would things be different with us being more highway? I think the Hemi would have done a lot better on the highway than it did in just city, where the 2.7 did better in the city. So anyway, that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Big John, for doing this video with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Anytime. And the boss is here, so have a great day, guys. Thanks for watching.